The weird thing to me is a lot of these people that are talking about Nick Shirley. So there was an interview with Nick Shirley with a guy named Andrew recently. And I listened to the entire thing on Nick Shirley's channel, of course, the whole thing. And it's kind of like, meh, whatever. I don't really care too much for it. It's just him asking like the same kind of questions over and over, and it doesn't really make that much sense to begin with because Nick Shirley is not the one who actually did all the research. He just has the influence, and he like talked to David Hope, who actually does have all the information. So this guy Andrew is trying to like dig the truth out of Nick Shirley, who literally just learned about this probably like 2 months ago. And frickin' David Hope is the one who actually knows all this stuff down to a T, so why didn't you go interview him? Well, people were like clowning on Nick Shirley because like he's not a good speaker and he can't really like articulate himself very well. And I'm like, yeah, he's a 23-year-old kid. And it's like, and yeah, that is still a kid. I was a kid when I joined the military. I came out and I was still a kid, and now I'm a man. But it's been a long time since I've joined the military now at this point. Nick Shirley, he's still a kid. And I hate to say that. It's just maybe we're not maturing like we used to. But, I mean, he's got a long way to go. He's got a lot of public speaking lessons probably got to take. And, like, he's got to get the information better, like, set in his head if he wants to be able to talk to people like that. But why you guys clowning on this dude? Like, there's this one guy arguing with me on the internet that like, oh, Nick looks so stupid because he complained that the interview made him look bad when it got edited down to an hour. Okay, 57% of the interview was cut out. Now maybe Andrew editing it down would make Nick Shirley sound a little bit more intelligent, but that's not like really Nick Shirley's point. He's like, why did you cut out so much of the interview? And then he only complained about it for like 2 minutes. And then afterwards, like Andrew had a complete and catastrophic meltdown complaining. It's like, no, I didn't try to make him look bad. What's he talking about? I think he's so stupid. I hate this guy. And it's just like, dude, calm down. Like, you're having this huge freak out about like Nick Shirley, and Nick Shirley literally just like he complained about it for 2 minutes and then he moved on with his life after dropping the entire interview. And the funniest thing too is that Andrew says that Nick Shirley took him out of context. Dude, Nick Shirley dropped the entire interview. He dropped the entire context. And a lot of people like still agreed that Nick Shirley looked bad. And I'm just like, I don't really care. I care about the fraud. And again, why are you interviewing Nick Shirley? David Hope is the guy who did all the work. Nick Shirley just revealed it to the world. He's just a reporter. Why don't you interview the actual investigator? That's the part that doesn't make sense to me. And that's the part where I'm like, I think that Andrew is literally just trying to tank the whole Minnesota fraud case entirely, because if you actually cared about Minnesota fraud, maybe interview the guy who actually spent half a decade researching this instead of the guy who just found out about this like 2 months ago. Just a thought. Also, it also didn't kind of make sense. I know it was a political move to have Nick Shirley go to Congress and testify in over there because, well, David didn't really want to give his last name, and I think his last name basically got doxxed. But again, why don't you bring in David Hope for the actual for testifying in Congress? Because again, he's the one who has all the information in his head. Like, he's been obsessed with this for like the last half decade. I think it's like 7 years actually. So again, it's just like Andrew just looks like a complete clown, and like all these people who are like criticizing Nick Shirley also look like complete clowns. And it's funny too because a lot of them have like tens of thousands of likes on YouTube, and it's just like, yeah, but I don't care. Because this isn't about Nick Shirley. This is about Minnesota fraud and what David Hope discovered. Nick Shirley is just the guy who used his influence to show this to the world. Like, if you look at the actual evidence and the absolutely hostile interactions he's had so far with people who have gone completely insane on him, for no reason, by the way. There are videos out there right now where somebody will go to a legitimate daycare and they'll film themselves like, hey, I'm at this daycare. Here's the lady. I'm like, here's her face. Like, everyone can now see what this lady looks like. Can you give me a pamphlet to this daycare? And she's like, yeah, sure. Here you go. Have a pamphlet. And they give the guy a pamphlet. He's like, yeah, see, this is what an actual daycare does. And it gives you business cards and pamphlets, and they don't care if you're filming when you go in there. They know you're just an influencer. They don't mind this. And it's just like... It's like, it's so obvious. You go to a daycare and you ring the doorbell, and then suddenly 4 guys flood out and start screaming at you that it's private property and that you have to leave. And all you're asking them is for a pamphlet or a number to talk to, or to see like the facilities for the kids, and do you actually have any kids here right now? Because it doesn't seem like you are actually doing anything besides staying around and jerking off in a warehouse. I mean, I understand being protective of kids, but if you, I've seen daycares where they have outdoor playgrounds, and you can see the kids playing out there if you're driving to school or something. Hell, actually, right off the freeway, there's a doggy daycare, which different, obviously, but you'll see dogs out there occasionally. If you drove past that every single day and the lights were off, the windows were blacked out, there were never any dogs there, you'd be like, what the hell is that place? What's it doing? It just sits there. I never see any dogs actually using the facility. That's kind of weird. And it's just people notice if there's a child's daycare that doesn't have an outdoor playground, and no one ever sees a kid walk into it. It's just, again, I don't care if Nick Shirley is awkward. He's 23 years old. He barely is is he even 23? I don't even know. He's he doesn't know what the hell is going on. There's a reason why the founders didn't allow anyone to run for president until they were 35. And by the way, if AOC is in Congress, obviously intelligence doesn't matter to the left whatsoever. Anyways, I'm going to leave that there, because these guys, they keep trying to argue oh, but he's Nick Shirley, he looks so stupid, complaining about the interview. Dude, Andrew, the interviewer, spent a good long while having a complete and utter meltdown because Nick Shirley was oh, weird. See, if I was Andrew, I would be oh, I'm sorry, Nick Shirley feels like I misrepresented him by editing down the video. I tried to cut out dead air and repetitive statements and everything like that. But I mean, he's honored to his opinion, and I'm fine with him. And then he could just said, I'm fine with him posting the entire interview. Whatever, man.